I am Prakhar Garg, and I'll be your host for the session A Day in the Life of an Ethical Hacker. Let me start with a short story. On July 15th, several Bitcoin related accounts began tweeting what appeared to be a simple Bitcoin scam, promising to give back to the community by doubling any Bitcoin sent to their address. But soon the apparent scam spread to many mainstream celebrity accounts on Twitter, such as Barack Obama, Elon Musk, Kanye West, Bill Gates, and those of corporation Apple and Uber. Despite Twitter claiming that only about 130 accounts were targeted, the attackers received hundreds of transfers worth more than $100,000. What was most surprising is that the alleged mastermind was a 17-year-old teen from Florida. It took about a month for Twitter to float back to something like normal. This is not just one-off incident. According to the statistics, there is a hacker attack every 39 seconds. 300,000 new malwares are created every day, and an average cost of data breaches will reach about 150 million in 2020. Cybercrime cost the world almost 600 billion in 2018, which is about 0.8% GDP. So what do we do to avoid such hacks and data breaches? We enhance the security, right? And for that, we need someone who have a penetrative mind of a hacker coupled with good intent. With this, it is my pleasure to invite a guest today, Ketan Vyas. Ketan Vyas heads the application security and penetration testing for Tata Consultancy services. He is the chief architect of TCS Software Security Assurance Framework and is responsible for developing processes, techniques, methodologies, and tools for embedding security throughout delivery lifecycle. He also oversees security implementation in large engagements and security product purchases. Ketan has 24 years of experiences in offensive and defensive security, software development, and product evaluation. He has worked as a scientist with ISRO. He holds a master's degree in software system from BITS Pilani. He has published multiple papers, some of which are PASS-O, a proposal to improve the security of pattern unlock system in 2017, and Security Testing Strategy for iOS MDM Solution with Pentest magazine in 2013. He has presented in various seminars including DCSI, Ground Zero Summit, Club Hack, Nullcon, CSI, and ICWA. He spends his leisure time reading books, listening to music, playing flutes, flying kites, and working on computer device. So welcome, Ketan.
Thank you, Prakhar. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ketan Vyas. I'm part of TCS security team, and today I will talk about ethical hacking. We are living in an interesting time of digital revolution, where data is a new currency. Everyone has a smartphone, and for everything there is an app. If you are hungry, order food from Swiggy or Zomato. If you want to buy something, you have Amazon or a Flipkart or a Tata Click app. If you want to do video conference, you have a WhatsApp or a Zoom app is available. But during lockdown, Zoom was the most popular video conferencing application. However, Zoom was banned in many countries because it was insecure. According to a report, malicious actors found a way to reach an online Zoom conference and posted hate messages and obscene content during school classes. Of course, Zoom has patched those vulnerabilities. However, whatever reputation damage that was supposed to happen, it has happened. Like Prakhar mentioned about Twitter hack, last month our Prime Minister Narendra Modi's personal website was hacked. Attacker tweeted followers to donate through cryptocurrency towards the National Relief Fund. So now it is secured and investigation happened. So we discuss news headlines. Now let me give an example of a technical issue. This week, spoofing vulnerability was found both in iOS and Android operating system. Imagine how many mobile phones could have been infected with a malware which was exploiting this vulnerability. Every day you can find numerous stories such as ransomware attack, data breaches, nation-state sponsored attack. You can collectively call all these actors as cyber criminals who attack systems and disrupt operations. They steal data. They build ransomware. If you heard about WannaCry attack in 2017, which impacted organizations across 150 countries. Microsoft has released a patch. However, these organizations did not patch their computers. The original meaning of a hacker is a technical wizard or a geek. However, unfortunately, today media erroneously attribute virtually any form of illicit act to hacker, and hacker term is very loosely used for a person who commits cybercrime. Organizations have started preparing themselves against cyber attacks. Organizations hire skilled security professionals and give them tasks to attack their own systems, their application, infrastructure, the way any hacker would attack. So before somebody else find a security problem, you find your own problem. And these security professionals are known as ethical hackers. They are authorized by organization or owner of asset to penetrate their network and systems. The reason why hackers and ethical hackers are successful is because there are weaknesses in the system, either a design flaw, poor coding, or misconfigurations. Ethical hackers help organizations secure their systems. And there are many flavors of hackers available. So many ethical hackers join hands during security conferences like DEF CON 2 years back. US voting machines were provided to them, and these ethical hackers were able to hack machines. So you can imagine the impact on the elections. Elections are due. So if voting machines are insecure, the results could go either way. Similarly, in Canada, Pontoon hacking contest happened. The last day of the contest, two security researchers, or I would say ethical hackers, were able to hack the Tesla Model 3 car. So you will have a lot of examples where ethical hackers are contributing, they are helping organizations and securing their systems. So over to you, Prakhar.
Thank you, Ketan. So those are interesting points which you touched throughout the talk. Would you like to show us any demo or any areas where we can see how an actual hacking is happening?
Okay, I can show you a small attack. Let me share my screen.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So this is a test application, which is a banking website which is created on net for learning security. Now this application is made quite secure. From a development perspective, it has shown the errors as well. I change a username. I keep username as a jsmith, password as a something like this. Now what we have seen here, instead of password, I typed a word and I said 1 equal to 1. This is known as a classic SQL injection vulnerability, which allowed me to log in through the application without having a correct credentials. Similarly, there are a lot of techniques available through which someone can attack the application and hack into the system.
That is really interesting. So I think most of the students who have been working on their final year projects or mid-year projects, they would have been making softwares, and this would have been, I think, a great relatable thing that they would understand. I remember coding in my days and having similar kind of issues. This is very interesting, actually. Thank you for sharing that, Ketan. So Ketan, let me just quickly jump into the questions which I have. So how do you think how much creativity is required for young to match up to the young hackers? So you said the Twitter hack was done by a 17-year-old kid. So how would we match the creativity of such a young person?
So if you look at the literature, creativity is not only with the young or kids. It can be learned, it can be taught. Definitely, you need to be very disciplined with a, I would say, destructive mind to become ethical hacker. And there are a lot of sources available. If you Google or go to YouTube and search with ethical hacking means, you will find lots of resources. Now, learning is one thing and applying it in a right manner is another. So, if you look at the hackers, there are many categories. One of them is known as script kiddies. They do the nuances security, but get a script, they run script against the target, and that's why they are script kiddies. There is another category which is a crackers who prefers destruction. A cracker is a person who circumvent or defeat the security controls of a network or a particular computer system to gain unauthorized access. Then you have nation state actors. There are many countries who are known to sponsor hackers. Hackers attack their friends and enemy countries, steal information from a country's system. So the sponsor countries the intelligence, and hackers get money and protection through government. I won't name these countries, but you could find their names on web. So as far as the creativity is concerned, everybody is equal. They need to have that mindset to find the flaw and exploit the flaw. Anybody can match what the youngsters do. Thank you.
Okay. Great. So I understand, like it's not necessary that only you need a young mind to be creative into that. So you just need a destructive mind.
Correct.
So maybe just change the status quo, try different methods, and you will still find a kind of a penetration into the system. That's the way you have to think, right?
Yes.
So that sounds very interesting. So with respect to ethical hacking as a career, so is it clear that ethical hackers can only be hackers throughout their life, or can they actually move into designing software security systems as well?
Generally, solutioning is not part of ethical hacking exercise. The ethical hackers identify issues and provide recommendation. They don't get involved into solutioning. Once issues are fixed, they retest, and if found okay, they provide final report. Developers or architects generally have their own pride in what they do. Whenever you report a security vulnerability, the initial reaction is denial. How could this happen to my code? However, when they see the actual attack video or data stolen from database, or when the evidences are presented, like commands were executed on remote, they understand the problem. That's the starting point for friendship between the ethical hackers and developers. Both the teams work together for strengthening the security of systems. So they involve ethical hackers during threat modeling or like a design review. So to that, the ethical hackers are involved in. They don't get involved into creating systems.
Great. So it's kind of a maker-checker environment that you are having, right?
Correct. So,
Great. So in a maker-checker environment, how is the relation between the maker and checker? Is it like very welcoming, or just that, okay, getting on to the work, you are not part of my job, I'm not part of your job kind of thing?
when I say that ethical hacker reports vulnerability, which are security defects, and give recommendation, this is only one part of the job. When ethical hackers are not doing a penetration testing, they can contribute to design through threat modeling or a design review. However, as I mentioned, there is a rule called maker checker, where if I am making a transaction, I cannot approve the transaction. So that's why I said that if somebody who is reporting vulnerability, same person cannot design the system. So that's why I always say that there is a lot of ethical hacker, or in our technical terminology, we call them a pen testers or a red team member. They are a part of our design team, but they lose the right to do the penetration testing if they are designing the system. So either you are doing a ethical hacking job or you are doing a designing job. You can't do both at same time.
Okay. So we can be either this or that at any particular point of time.
Correct. It's a actor.
Yes. Okay. So as you were saying, you during your career as an ethical hacker, you design security systems as well. You contribute there as well. So you would have, I'm quite sure you would have designed a lot of systems as well with TCS and even before that. So did you face any cases where your design software security system is maybe penetrated by someone?
Yes, many times. I could. We were designing a web application firewall. So 4 or 5 senior security researchers who were very good at ethical hacking, who used to speak at security conferences about the research, they designed this system. We tested and found that it is quite. Two of our European researchers to evaluate this firewall. Within few minutes of giving them, they were able to take the control of our web application firewall through buffer overflow. So it taught us a good lesson that there is always a better person in the world who is better and smarter than you. I may be good at my technology, I may be very good at designing the system. However, my adversary may choose different ways to attack the system. What threat model worked for me, adversary can think out of the box. Your system will behave in a very different way when somebody attacks them with a different mindset. So for example, in US, one of the university students attacked drones as their final year project. They sent more than 1,000 wireless connection requests to drone, and drone CPU could not respond to it. CPU went into a crash mode. Probably the drone designers never thought that instead of sending one connection request, somebody will simultaneously send thousands of requests. It's a hard learning, but that's how you become a better person. Another incident I can share is how to secure our own system before we attack other systems. We are working for a project where ISP network was given to us as a target. We hacked their front server, and from front server we were trying to map databases from other servers. I created a ASP script that can copy data from one SQL server to another one. In my script, I made a typo, due to which data from my database got copied onto ISP database. So each project brings some learning and opportunity for improvement, and I'm fortunate that I made many mistakes early, and I learned a lot from it.
Those are quite interesting examples. Because you never know which way the hacker will try to attempt to hack into your systems. That's very interesting. So what's the pressure like? So if someone break into a system, what's the pressure like? Someone break into my system, and what should I do now? Is it a panic thing? Is it maybe what you call zero trust? What is it?
Definitely there is a lot of pressure, and like any other industry, cybersecurity is not different. You get to test application during last phase of delivery, and you will have to find as many vulnerabilities as possible within short time. Generally, security teams get less time, and they had to take up a lot of accountability. If you say that this application I tested is secure and tomorrow somebody hacks that application, it impacts the reputation. So you have to be very clear on the scope and timeline. So let's say if somebody is giving 10 systems to me for testing, and if each system is going to take say 1 day, so naturally it is a 10 days work. If I am given only 2 days, then I would upfront tell that I can test only 2 systems. If time permits, then I can take others. However, scope of work is only 2 systems. If you don't follow this type of discipline, and I say that I'm going to test 10 systems, it might end up compromising the quality of work. So there is always a risk. Anything that runs on a machine can be reverse engineered. Anything that goes over wire can be intercepted. Somebody will have a better tools and means to attack. So there is nothing like 100% security. It is a question of time and resources. So you will have to do your best in given time frame. There is always a pressure to do more with less. So yes, there is a lot of pressure of delivery.
So as you were mentioning with respect to time, how much time you spend on particular system, you can explore more vulnerabilities and maybe define much more stronger solutions. So how in such a scenario at a maybe broader level, how much time do you think is appropriate for say one system? Okay, you design one system and you say this much time I should give for looking into the security and trying to hack it. How do you decide this is the kind of appropriate time? Because hackers will have say like an year or maybe 2 years to even try that same thing out. So how do you kind of set that time?
Good question. I would say I don't have an easy answer. There are no estimates available. The estimation is very contextual. When we say one system, so what is the meaning of that system? Is it a operating system, or is it a web service, or is it a cloud native application? So depending on the nature of the target, the estimation varies. But generally what we have observed is around 10 to 15% of the overall development effort is required for securing those systems.
Thank you. That was actually really interesting to understand the nuances of ethical hacking and then penetration as well as setting up the security. So one of the basic start of any hack is I understand what I was reading through. So I might not be having very perfect knowledge on that. So most of the hacks start with social engineering. So what consideration do you take when you are designing a security system that okay, social engineering can cause this effect?
With social media, people wants to share more, so you will have information available on a Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. In ethical hacking, initial phase is information gathering, or we call it a reconnaissance. So we run certain tools to gather information about the target. If target is a person or a user of a target system, then we collect information about person, his or her habits, hobbies, likes, dislikes, and prepare a profile with whatever information is available through legal means. The internet is more of a read-only medium. So once you post something there are ways to pull that information. This information is used in many ways to connect with person to legitimate and retrieve confidential information or make the person act on something. That's what is a social engineering. That's a very important aspect in ethical hacking. So when we design system, we try to make sure that we have a proper identity validation for any entity who is connecting with the system. So this is called a authentication system. We use a multi-factor authentication, sometimes time and location used for authenticating the users. Then the next level is authorization. So authorization based on the role, based on the time, the location. So all these factors are important. And the third aspect is the audit trails as well as the continuous monitoring, where if some unauthorized break-in happens, you get an alert so that you can act on that. There are automated rules formed into the system so that you could respond to such incidents in real time. So this type of considerations are done, which are not specific to social engineering, but it applies to the any system design, which will protect you from all type of attacks.
Okay. That sounds really interesting. That the system is actually being prepared with respect to not just the technical hack, but also kind of personal hacks as well. So now coming to the career part of it, so I was reading one statistic and I found out that in the next 10 years, the job of cybersecurity will rise to around about 32%, whereas the job in other sector is rising to say 5%. So what are your thoughts on that? Is that like what you see right now happening with the help of say clouds and things moving on to remote areas and being accessed through multiple devices?
So for security guys, industry is growing, which is good. There are a lot of opportunities, especially in ethical hacking domain. Ethical hackers are one of the highest paid security specialists in industry. If you go to any job search portal, you will find that there are lots of vacancy in the area of cyber security, especially in ethical hacking. So whatever is happening, there are lot of opportunities for ethical hackers.
Great. So these opportunities which you're mentioning, are they mostly freelance kind of job or they are permanent work, permanent payroll on a big companies who are trying to get penetration testers in their payroll as well?
It is both. More of a freelance or a permanent job is more of a personal choice, I would say. Freelance work has a challenge of trust or a contract, while ethical hacker role in companies have many restrictions. So both got their own pros and cons. For freelancer, I observe that industry is going through a consolidation phase. So earlier, when individuals used to run freelance services, now they have a front-face company who clears legal and contractual formalities. New platforms like a Bugcrowd or a Cobalt, where individual penetration testers registers. These platforms don't allow anyone to join. They evaluate individuals from a skill and knowledge as well as the execution capability perspective. And after each project, they are rated and paid. So there are lots of opportunities available as ethical hacker role within the organizations. The rules of engagement for a freelance and permanent job are a bit different. However, the work remains same, that you find the security defects into target system or application and you provide the recommendations.
Great. So with all these opportunities out there, how should one start with say like preparing for such opportunities, or how should one start into ethical hacking?
Starting is a challenge for any industry stream. I think best place to start is to stories and books. There is no replacement for books to know the subject well. I recommend Hacking Expo series. It's a Bible for any ethical hacker. Initial versions were written 20 years back. However, it is still relevant. Targets and tools are changed. However, techniques written in those books are still relevant. These books will definitely help the students as well as the practitioners who are stepping into ethical hacking domain. There are many consortiums, so you can visit websites like Open Web Application Project, which is popularly known as OWASP, Linux and Apache Foundation projects, Cybersecurity Alliance, my favorite Safecode white papers. There are plenty of videos available on YouTube ranging from beginners to expert level. Another avenue is from reading about ethical hacking through blogs and online resources. There are many startups into this domain, and they have some of the best reading material available. I visit Bruce Schneier blog frequently, where you will find security news, links to white papers, and lot of wisdom related to security. If you visit Cub on security, you will get payment card industry related news stories. Cub is a investigative journalist and publish good stories about how hacks happens on payment cards. There are many areas in cybersecurity, one can't learn everything. So we need to learn from others by attending security conferences. Although cybersecurity is small community compared to other industries, you will find at least 2 or 3 conferences arranged every month across the world on different aspect of security. For students, these conferences offer heavy discounts, so that's a very good opportunity. In COVID-19 scenario, you will find lots of conferences organized online, and those can be attended from home. So there is plenty of material available to start in this area.
Great. So I hope our audience would be noting down all these reference points that you have mentioned. So, do you think any background is required with respect to starting as a career as an ethical hacker? Like any background, say engineering background or a graduation background, or maybe class 12th or 10th student can also give it a try.
So anybody can learn this. As I mentioned, you need a very a discipline and a destructive mindset. So you could start with this. There is no age bar.
So any certification you might be able to suggest that this is good for if you're starting into ethical hacking and if you're trying to progress it into further. Any certification is there out there?
There are many certifications. Entry level is a certified ethical hacker or a CEH. Then one can go to CISSP and then offensive security certification courses. US SANS Institute offer many certifications. So there is not a single certification. There are different areas. For example, performing a web application penetration is very different from performing a wireless network penetration. So you will have a separate certification for each of this area. There are many specialized areas like web hacking, infrastructure hacking, wireless hacking, mobile app hacking, IoT hacking, cloud hacking, and super specialization like Azure or AWS cloud native application security. So each requires a separate expertise and certification. Today, many platform and service providers also offer their security certificate. The external certifications are good in terms of entry barrier, because when you have two resumes, one with certificate and one without, you would prefer a candidate with one who has certificate.
Great. So I understand, like you go into with the basic level certification first, and then you, as you start getting into more of it, you understand which particular field you want to go in, say AWS or maybe firewall building and all those things, and then you grow in it and you do the subsequent certification, right?
Right.
Okay. So that sounds very interesting. But what I've also noticed is companies like TCS and even other forums, they have been doing quite a lot of hackathons as well. So I see a lot of hackathons coming every year. So students would have been participating in these. So any experience, does it count in by the job search?
Definitely. If you win hackathon, you are proving your mettle. Even if you don't have a degree or certification, you are showing your skills, and that's what matters in field. I would say by participating in hackathon, one can get real world hacking experience. Journey is more important than destination. So everybody should participate and learn, get experience around.
Great. So for say starters who are just trying to start their career in ethical hacking, so do you think they should start in a large scale company or a small scale company? What's an appropriate platform for them?
Again, I would say that it is more of a personal choice. The security controls and efforts remain more or less same in every company. The purpose is different. For example, in large scale industry like a banking or telecommunication, it is more of a compliance or a risk management function. While in a small company, it is more of a existential matter. Let's take a case of a startup. Promoters, let's say, have come up with a wonderful idea. However, their code base is stolen or intellectual property is stolen, they will immediately go out of market. So for a small companies or small scale industries, it is a bread and butter problem. Large organizations also face IP theft or espionage. However, for them, it is more of a brand or a reputation problem.
So I understand. Say if large company have security breach, obviously Twitter has so much of market name that the name got affected more than any other thing, right? Even the money was transferred so from Bitcoin to Bitcoin, so it was not actually their money lost, but at least the credential with respect to people trust with respect to Twitter was kind of hacked as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you think India is having enough infrastructure or setup available to equip small scale industry to be good in security?
Technology has made distances small. Our industries are also becoming very closely connected. So there can be a company in the US or Europe and services are accessible from India. So that way access is available to everyone. So in an India story, if you see the security perspective, there are lots of startups in India. If you go to government or NASSCOM DSCI website, you will find that there are a lot of good products available from Indian startups. From India perspective, I would say it's a growing market. Data is a new currency. So if you lose data, you are losing currency. There are plenty of opportunity in cybersecurity area, and ethical hacking is a number one skill that every company will look forward. Even I am looking for good people in my team. A lot of opportunity, and Indian infrastructure and technology sectors are up challenge. They are at par with any other country's requirements.
Great. It certainly make me feeling very proud being an Indian right now. So so let's so closing it towards we are coming to the end. So any career advice, final advice you have the students?
Students are going to be my industry colleagues tomorrow. So I will give only one advice: to remember that ethical hacking has an ethical word into it. You can learn hacking techniques either by reading books, watching videos, or reading stories. However, you shall not practice them without authorization. I read about a case where a college student learned SQL injection and attacked banking website without authorization and ended up in jail. So they should be very cautious about it. My sincere advice is, whatever you learn, please make sure that you are using that learning in an ethical way. Before starting a project, agree on terms of engagement, and till the end of project, stick to it. Make sure that your customer is well aware of every action that you perform.
So thank you, Ketan. Thank you. That it has been very engaging and insightful talk. I'm sure this will help young minds out there to start a very prosperous career in ethical hacking. So I think we are good. I am really enjoyed this talk. It was really wonderful to have you here, and it was an honor to have you share all this knowledge with us. Any closing comment if you have? We can close with that.
I would thank you, and as well as listeners. Please follow the advice that I gave, that ethical hacking has an ethical word into it. Okay. I became ethical hacker because of the destiny. The writing sniffer, and somebody said that this skills can be utilized in this particular domain. I went there. At that time, there were very few resources available. Today, I see that there are plenty of resources available. There is a lot of guidance available to step into this domain. So I'm looking forward to a lot of people joining my team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ketan. Thank you for your time. It was an honor having you here. So looking forward to more such talks in the future. Thank you, Ketan.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.